let me tell you guys, Hawaii is right there. Hawaii, the next Indiana. Why? Because the final AP Top 25 football poll has been released. And yes, no surprise, the national champions, Indiana, are at the top. The runners-up, Miami, are number 2. But if you go all the way down, the University of Hawaii, your Rainbow Warrior football team, has received a vote in the final AP Top 25 poll. Let's go! Woo!
Come on.
Let's go, Bows!
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den, hour number 2. I'm Ku'ule Agbayani alongside Paul Brecht on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, hawaiisportsradio.com, and you can catch us on demand wherever you get most podcasts. Feel free to text into the show at 808-888-KG1. That's 808-888-5481 if you do want to get in on the conversation or steer the conversation or bring up topics. And that is the topic that we are going to get into now to start off hour number 2. This is the text. Curious if you guys saw Glen Wakai's comments on UH trying to bridge the NIL gap via the Asia/Pacific ? I agree with pretty much all of his comments and thought we were actively working on that ? The only comment he made that didn't give me great vibes is the reasoning that foreign players can't be paid NIL. While true, I don't know if that's something we should take advantage of. Correct.
I agree with that part.
Yes, I agree with your text. So pretty much entirely. And for those that have not seen it, we'll get you caught up with that right now. So this was reported via KHON News. Nikki Schenfeld, you can go to khon2.com. So this is, again, Senator Glen Wakai's comments as it has to deal with name, image, and likeness. As Hawaii, they had that informational briefing last week to which there was a lot of pushback from the legislatures about Hawaii's request for the $5 million. Now, Governor Josh Green also last week said he would encourage the legislature to approve $4.1 million towards NIL for the University of Hawaiʻi Manoa. And being that Hawaii has done a great job of already in this 6 months under Matt Elliott, raising $1.5 million specifically for NIL funding at the University of Hawaii. So for Governor Green to say, all right, well, we'll just make good whatever has not been raised yet. So hence why that $4.1 or so million that he is encouraging the legislature to approve. However, the Ways and Means Committee, or the joint informational briefing between the Ways and Means Committee and Higher Education, they received a lot of pushback, namely so from Kurt Vivella, from Senator Donna Mercado Kim, were kind of maybe the two naysayers in this whole realm. Some of the other senators were supportive and some seemed undecided, which is understandable because we always have to remember that this is our full-time job. We study this stuff. We see the return on investment in other places, hence like at Indiana. And so for us, it's almost like shouting from the rooftop, like, this makes sense, everybody. This makes sense because you get that return. And we talked about it last week as well, the economic impact statement, right? Like that was really, or impact study that was done 10 years ago that proved that off of a $35 or so million budget by University of Hawaiʻi Athletics, Manoa specifically only ended up in about like $66 million in return for the Hawaii economy. About $7 million of that was collected tax revenue and all of that stuff. So it does come back to return. So now it brings us to Senator Glen Wakai, who, to his credit, in that informational briefing did mention that he kind of made it known because Senator Mercado Kim asked, well, have you guys been asking Google or Apple or Mark Cuban for help, I guess you can say. Wakai did mention that Hawaii is one of 12 states that does not have a Fortune 500 company based here, as well as the University of Hawaiʻi Manoa to my knowledge, and it's stuff that I've been told, does not have a billionaire alum like a Mark Cuban. We got a lot of millionaires and billionaires that live here in Hawaii, but none of them have significant direct ties to the University of Hawaii, hence why it hasn't necessarily amounted to a Mark Cuban type of thing for his alma mater in Indiana, where they're like, I want to support my school, all of that stuff. That's not to say Hawaii, the University of Hawaii, isn't appreciative of all the other donors and sponsors that have come in, of course, but that's just the disparity between if we're trying to say, hey, why don't you ask these other guys with a lot of money and gals? That's kind of a big reason why it hasn't happened for UH just yet. Mr. Beast will come through. Mr. Beast he will be our honorary UH alum to make his own NCAA national championship team for the University of Hawaii. No, but in all seriousness, so with all of that background, Glen Wakai was asked about this. So once again, he mentioned that there are 360 D1 programs in America. The University of Hawaii is fighting all of them for a larger slice of the mainland NIL pie. His words, not mine. We're not going to be the winners in that effort. That is what Senator Glen Wakai said. Let's see. He continues that while UH requested, or this is more information from this KHON2 article, Wakai says taxpayer money should not be the primary solution. And once again, I felt similar sentiments, but if we are here in this landscape, I'm like, you know what? My tax dollars could go to other things. If it will produce a winning culture or continue the winning culture here at Hawaii, then I would be happy and fine with my tax dollars going to that. Let's see. Wakai says, quote, I don't think the highest paid state employee should be a 19-year-old kid who can throw a ball. I don't think the public is going to be receptive to that idea. Understand that sentiment. I know that's similar to, I'm sure a lot of people feel out there when we talk specifically about taxpayer dollars. So Wakai goes on to say, quote, if you're a kid out of Tokyo or Seoul, you know Hawaii. You might not know too much about Tennessee or Alabama. So hence he is encouraging UH to focus on recruiting and building partnerships in the Asia Pacific region where Hawaii has a strong brand advantage. Let's see. It's mentioned the strategy recently produced results. Haruto Asaki, an 18-year-old pitcher from Tokyo who throws up to 95 miles per hour, has committed to the University of Hawaii after watching the UH baseball team play in Japan. He will graduate from high school this spring and plans to enroll at UH in the fall. Let's see. Asaki said, quote, my first impression of the UH players was everyone had a good vibe, physically very big, and I wanted to see the environment they practice and play in. So he was able to see Hawaii play in person. So that was one of the big things. So Wakai says that Asia Pacific approach is a 3-pronged strategy, attracting student athletes, building an international fan base, and drawing corporate sponsorships from overseas markets. Saying, quotes, we're going to get athletes, we're going to create a fan base, and then we're going to get corporate money from Asia, not just Japan. Talking about plans to expand outreach to Taiwan, Korea, and Australia. He points to, this is the part that made me chuckle. He points to LA Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani as proof of the global marketing potential. What Ohtani brought to the Dodgers in year one was about $70 million in new advertising.
Yeah, why can't we do that?
The Shohei Ohtani factor is real. Under current NCAA rules, schools can accept foreign NIL money, but are not required to pay foreign student athletes directly, something Wakai says should help maintain UH or help UH maintain competitive. Can we accept money? This is his quote again. Can we accept money? ? Yes. He said, do we have to pay foreign athletes? No. That part just rubs me the wrong way. Sorry. It's not something you want to say out loud. Hence what our texter was also mentioning as well. Let's see. So that's kind of the gist of it. Again, this is via KHON2.com. Nikki Schenfeld. If you want to look it up, it says Hawaii Senator pitches Asia Pacific recruiting strategy as UH faces NIL money gap. So all that to say, I understand the sentiment. But again, like our texter said, that's not necessarily something Hawaii has not been doing at all. Like the reach out to the Asia market was started at least most recently, to my knowledge. Maybe it happened before, but I know it was being efforted by former AD Craig Angeles, reaching out to that market. That is something the basketball team did, that Japan trip and everything like that. And then they've recruited players, that are from Japan in all sports, as we have come to see, in all of the main sports really here, men's sports anyways, with you had, oh my gosh, his name is escaping me now.
Give
Basketball.
Me a sport. Akira Jacobs. You had Roy Igwe. You had
Itsuki Takemoto for baseball. I was like, Akira Jacobs. That was one. Thank you very much. So
I even gave you a second one.
Yes,
How about
you
that?
did.
How about that? Take that.
So I understand, again, the sentiment is there. I didn't like the mention of, like our texter said, and I want to echo that as well, where it's like, hey, this is a good idea because we can accept NIL money from Asia and Pacific, but we don't got to pay those players. So that will be good because we're saving money by not paying these players. I don't really like how that comes off. Again, it's only printed. I don't know how it came off when he said it. Could be entirely different. I hope it doesn't come off the way that it is printed because it just doesn't sound right. And to be clear, yes, schools aren't obligated, and there's still weird rules of paying payers directly NIL money, but they can receive royalties in a sense, like how Kansei did off of their name, image, and likeness. So true NIL in that perspective.
Say they can actually get NIL.
And the whole comparison with Shohei Ohtani and the LA Dodgers just made me chuckle because that is Shohei Ohtani is a freak of an athlete he is one of one in the entire world, and he just happens to come from Japan. He just happens to come from the Asia market, from Japan. If he came from any other market, it would have been similar.
Insane.
Like, I don't think that's a fair comparison to be like, yeah, the Dodgers, Major League Baseball, one of the most popular sports in the world, and a sport that is popular in Japan in baseball, where in the U.S., football is the number one revenue driver in college athletics. There is no argument there. It will be the number one driver here at the University of Hawaiʻi. Now, I know the secondary sports, you can argue volleyball, yada, yada. Kansei also is a one of one in terms of American football. There's a reason why P4 teams are not actively recruiting and do not have a bunch of starters out of Asia and Australia for college football. Like, I understand the sentiment. It does seem really easy getting that market. Like, let's just find this one of one diamond in the rough every single time and take advantage of that money from the Asia and Pacific market. It's just not as easy as it seems.
Yeah, there's a lot to get into here. I agree with a lot of the sentiments as well in terms of trying to explore different revenue streams and going to these Asia markets, in which Hawaii has done some groundwork already to go over there. Like you mentioned with Craig Angeles, I mean, even so, we saw the partnership with this new regime even did with did with the Kansei Matsuzawa of it all, and having his games or Hawaii football games televised back in Japan, and we've continued to see that. So it wouldn't surprise me to continue to see them do that, but. Yeah, I would agree. If we're talking specifically for football, I mean, expecting them to build a roster from Australia and Japan and Taiwan, and I think that's silly in general. That's just, I mean, you're not going to get as good of a football team if you do that. I don't know if that's necessarily the full sentiment that he was getting at. Like you said, I only read these comments rather than heard the comments. I hated the one line about we can take the foreign money, but we don't have to pay the foreign athletes. I agree in terms of, like, even if you feel that way, you don't need to say that. Like, just, I don't know. It sounds icky. It feels icky. It sounds predatory in a sense where it's like we can take advantage of them being good and we don't have to. I don't know. It's the whole issue that we're in college sports right now, where it's like taking advantage of athletes to make money and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, and even like you said, it's not as easy as just recruiting those places because you need them to be special. Because the Shohei Ohtani point, as great as Shohei is, there are a ton of Japanese players in baseball. And they're marketable to an extent, and they're each of them have their levels of popularity in Japan. I remember growing up and hearing just about the level of popularity that Hideki Matsui had back in Japan. So there are like multiple,
Ichiro.
yeah, like there are multiple athletes who can be that, but like I don't know, not everybody is gonna be good from Japan, and Japan is a pretty proud country, especially when it comes to athletics. They're not gonna just watch bums, like not to be disrespectful, but like they're not a fun, charismatic like character. Like Kansei was fun because he had a full story behind him and he was good, and like yeah, it takes a lot more than just we recruit their players and then all of a sudden they're gonna give us their money. So fun sentiment. Think it's smart that they explore it. Not as simple as it sounds from the senator, I think. But even so, I do appreciate that they are looking at it.
Yeah, and to add on your sentiment about like being good, right? If once again we talk about the top college revenue generating sport in college football, if they focus their recruiting efforts there simply because their players are cheaper / don't cost money, well, that won't necessarily produce a winning football program. So
famously, bargain bin shopping does not always produce the best results.
And like you just mentioned, Japan wants to sponsor and they'll be excited about good players, good teams, winners like Kansei and all of the stuff that came with it, and Shohei Ohtani at the highest level of a scale. But it's not, you can't just say that. I mean, and even if you look at the other sports, like maybe basketball is the only one in terms of revenue generation that, yeah, you could produce a good team. I mean, we see it on the women's basketball side with a handful of Australian and New Zealand athletes. I'm sure you could figure out the same thing on the men's basketball side to an extent.
I mean, UT Martin's doing it right now, to be fair, I guess.
So to an extent, right, you could. But when you look at men's and women's volleyball, what's huge here in Hawaii, a lot of the, if you're talking international players, come out of Europe. Like, you're not necessarily, and if I would trust Charlie Wade, if there were a lot of players out of Asia and Australia, he would have found them. Like, they would have got them, right? Like, and you look at men's volleyball teams across the country, a lot of them come out of Europe. Like, they're not necessarily in the Asia Pacific market, so to speak, and same with women's volleyball, right? So it's, again, like, I don't want to completely poo-poo on the idea and the thoughts. It is definitely thinking outside of the box. I just don't think it is easy. It's easy. It's way easier said than done, and it is easy to point to Shohei Ohtani and be like, look at that, what it amounted for the Dodgers in one of the most famous professional leagues in the entire world, and a one-of-one type of talent that has come here to Major League Baseball since, like, the most popular player since Babe Ruth, and can play both sides of the ball, yada, yada, yada. Like, even all the former Japanese players, right, or current outside of Shohei have not amounted to that type of marketing success. Yeah. And you also got to count on, hey, player got to look marketable like Shohei Ohtani does as well. So he is that is definitely the shooting star of it all. Again, the rarity. So I don't think it was fair for Wakai to be like, well, look at what's happening in LA.
So that's the word, the word you brought up there, fair. Because I totally get it. Once again, I totally get the idea.
Yeah.
And if you do hit it big once, then realistically, what more do you really have to hit big? But I am worried about when you make it as simply put, plainly stated as that. The average fan, the casual fan, somebody who maybe isn't as in tune with how things work, they might think it's that easy. And then you set up expectations, and it's ultimately expectations that lead to failure because it is such a rare instance and circumstance. So that is the only reason I am poo-pooing it and slowing it down so much, is like, I totally get the idea, but I don't want people to sit here and think that, sorry, I'm getting a call. I don't want people to sit here and think that it's just like, oh, snap our fingers, all done.
Yeah.
All pal, we're good. Because it's not that easy.
And his other earlier quote, too, is something the way that I feel as well when we talk about actual taxpayer money, where Wakai mentioned, I don't think the highest paid state employee should be a 19-year-old kid who can throw a ball. I understand that sentiment, and I'm sure that goes a long way with a lot of people in the state that pay taxes, so I understand where that comes from. but it's one of those situations, right? Like, I mean, if you put it to a vote and explain both sides, would you vote on your tax dollars going through paying for student athletes who will amount to a good football program and bring in tax dollars eventually because people will be interested and it does its own marketing when Hawaii is good and they get picked up for national television games? That's like free marketing right there, right? So all of the return on investment that comes with it, or you want to pay the 40-something% wages to the legislature and the raise increase, like, does that get return on investment? Not really, in a sense, considering everything that's happening right now. So that's the other part where having a good program and these NIL dollars, and if things work out how in an ideal world, if we get an Indiana type of run and everything works out according to plan, again, still a long shot, I understand that, Hawaii won't need those extra tax dollars from the legislature to be approved, and Hawaii sports will provide the tax generation revenue that this state needs, especially with losing a lot of these sports, from losing the Pro Bowl how long ago to potentially losing the Sony Open to losing the golf in Kapalua. Like, this is where, I mean, look at our friend Matt Humans, right? Like, he comes to watch Hawaii football by himself here in person. And this is outside of when he came for the Stanford game when they did the broadcast. He came out, like, I know he came out for the Hawaii Bowl just as a fan, and he came out for another game during the regular season. I'm sure he's not the only sole person who made a trip out to Hawaii just to watch a University of Hawaiʻi sport. I think last year I saw I think it was Kurt Neusterer that shared a fan at a UH men's volleyball game came up to him and said, I came all the way from New York. I just wanted to see you guys play in person. That is how it amounts to the return on investment to the tax dollars, because you get visitors that come here just to see this sports team and how special it is when it produces winners. They spend their money here. They stay at the hotels. They support local businesses or whatnot to go eat and everything. So that is the small picture of what could be the eventual big picture, because I tell you what, never in my life I ever thought about going to Kansas. But when I think about, hey, I do want to go to Fog Island one day and go watch a men's basketball game there one day, I never thought about going to a Hoosiers game, never think to go to Indiana. You know what?
And
Maybe
all
I
of a
want to
sudden,
check out. Maybe I want to go check out to see what that stadium is like in Indiana, right? Like, those are the things people that are avid sports fans, and the avid sports community is a little nuts. We're a bunch of sickos. You make trips just to go to see what it's like to watch sporting events in certain stadiums that produce winning programs. So I think that's the hard part with a lot of these politicians, is that, and I understand they have other things to worry about. Not everyone's going to be a fan, but someone needs to explain to them that this is a real phenomenon, that people will make trips to go and see college teams if they're successful, if the environment is exciting. Because look no further than your girl right here and someone that's going to watch a game in Nebraska. One, I did visit people, but we went to the game and it was exciting. And I tell everybody about my experience going to a Nebraska football game and just the fun and excitement that you're part of. Even if you don't really, you're kind of rooting for them, but they're no one's your team. It's just a fun experience. And I don't think that's the point that the politicians understand yet, and what they can't see that vision. So it'll work out when the new economic impact study gets shown to them, so that they can see the actual dollars that their investment and the taxpayer investment will get.
Look no further than my family. I visited all 30 MLB parks, and a lot of times it was to go watch the Yankees play. And we talk about it all the time. Hawaii is the professional team here in the islands, and it gives people a reason. I mean, we've had there are people very much so like my family who do that for college football, who are trying to see everything. Give people a reason to come out here. If you don't have sports, there is less of a reason to come out here. I understand it will always be Hawaii. It will always have a great tourism, whatever, if they want it. But why not make it as good as it possibly can be? And that comes with not just sports programs, but winning sports programs, ones that are exciting, that have personable people, that have great coaches. And that takes money, and it takes creativity. So I get it from all fronts. I hope we don't set up people to expect things that are unrealistic. That is always my worry.
Yes, and Shohei Ohtani. Go on with your bad self, Rich Hill, and find us just Shohei Ohtani.
He tried with Itsuki Takimoto, and it got him drafted, to be fair. So, I mean, I don't know if that's why the A's took him. But nonetheless, like, there are exciting stories. And Hawaii coaches are good at finding them. But also, shh, stop being so loud about it. Like,
don't tell our secret.
We don't need to be talking about, like, oh, we're going to explore the Asian market. Just do it quietly. Do it behind everybody's back, because if you keep talking about it, then Uncle Phil Knight is going to go over and be like, hey, we're pretty close too.
Uncle Nick Rolovich.
Yeah, like, shh. Be like a true G in lasagna, moving in silence.
Yeah.
Anyway.
On that note, way past it. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.